Hello students, how are you? Hope you all are keeping fine. So today I am here with the second chapter from your Gulmohar book, Language for Life, the 9th edition, and the name of the chapter is The Master Artist by Carol Moore. Before I begin reading and explaining the chapter to you, I would like to introduce the writer to you. On your screen, you can see a few pictures of the author. She is Carol Moore. Her complete name was Annie Carol Moore. She enjoyed writing and illustrating children's stories with her name as Carol Moore. But at that time, there was another author with the same name, Annie E. Moore. So she chose her name as Carol Moore. If we see Carol's early life and education, we'll find that she was born in Limerick, Maine, in the US. She had 7 elder brothers. Among her siblings, she was the only surviving daughter to her father, Luther Sanborn, and mother, Sarah Baker Moore. She described her childhood as a happy one. She began her formal education at the Limerick Academy in Maine. Later, she attended a 2-year college in Massachusetts. She was very close to her father. That is why she wanted to become a lawyer like him. Then you will see that in 1932, Moore received from the Pratt Institute a special award, the Diploma of Honors. And in year 1940, she was twice awarded the Doctor of Letters from the University of Maine. And further, in 1955, she again received an honorary doctorate from the Pratt Institute. In 1960, the year before her death, she was awarded the Catholic Library Association's Regina Medal for her pioneer work in children's library services. She died on January 20th in 1961 at the age of 89 in New York City. Okay children, this was about the author. Now before I read the chapter for you, I would like to narrate the story in a nutshell so that when I read it, you may be able to relate to the characters. In the story, you will see the painter named Musha Sinilabe, who was a recommended artist of his time, was requested by the patron named Giuliano Bartoli to prepare his portrait on a 20 feet tall wall, which was in his dining room. At the beginning, you will see that the painter did not agree, but later he decided to prepare the portrait because he wanted to get free from the restraints of 2 styles of painting prevailing at that time. These 2 styles of paintings were Proto-Renaissance and Byzantine styles of paintings. So he wanted to give his imagination wings. but then you will see that what he wanted, it did not go like that. The story is not having a smooth development, and at the end you will find that the patron Giuliano Bartoli was really very disappointed, and he was extremely unhappy to see his painting. Now I will not reveal you the complete story, because if I tell you everything, you will not find it so exciting. Many questions can arise in your mind, that why he was angry, why the painting was not come out properly, whether the painter was paid or not. All these you will come to know when I will read the story for you. And you will find many interesting words which denotes sounds like swooshing, clanking and slapping. Now you see, while I read the chapter, what you have to do. You should try to be observant and you should listen what I read very carefully. So all the best. Happy listening. The Master Artist, adapted from The Master Artist by Carol Moore. Monsieur Sinilabe had been a master artist of his day, and in 1392 was ready to retire when, in the month of May, Giuliano Bartoli, a rich Italian patron, sent for him and on his arrival said, "I would like a portrait of myself on my banquet room wall. Would you paint it? The wall is 20 feet tall." Monsieur l'Abbé looked thoughtful for a moment and then shook his head. "I'm sorry, but I don't think so. I'm ready to retire, so I'm not available for hire." However, seeing the disappointment in Signor Bartoli's eyes, he continued, "Well, there's a possibility. If you think you can allow me to explore the limits of my abilities, not for money, mind you, but for food and a bed instead. You need not even pose, because my memory is excellent. Already I can see your portrait in my mind, but I insist, Signor Bartoli, that while I work, your portrait must stay private, even from you." How strange, thought the patron, but he also thought about how highly the artist had been recommended. "Of course," he said, "anything you wish, but I insist at least upon paying you something for your effort. Let's draw up a contract." Now a glint came to Monsieur l'Abbé's eyes as he gazed upon that 20 feet wall and thought of all that space. Such a wonderful space to give imagination wings, because unknown to Signor Bartoli or anyone else for that matter, for all of his career of 45 years, Monsieur l'Abbé had yearned to paint in his own way. And what way was that? Certainly not the style of Byzantine or of Proto-Renaissance. No, Monsieur Sinilabe had hungered to break free of restraints. But the guild, his craft and livelihood, would never have allowed it, so he followed their rules, although he was never proud of it. Of course, he didn't reveal this to Signor Bartoli. Signing the contract, they sealed the agreement. Immediately, The master artist threw a high curtain in front of the wall, a curtain through which Signor Bartoli couldn't see at all. He tried to peek, but Monsieur l'Abbé insisted on total privacy for his artistic techniques. A week passed. "How is it coming along?" asked the hopeful Signor Bartoli. Answering him from behind the curtain, Monsieur l'Abbé said, "It's coming along quite well. You know, at the age of 8, I was apprentice to the great Ambrogio Lorenzetti. I could never dishonor his name. He taught me the art of grinding pigment, laying plaster, sometimes slowly, sometimes faster. He taught me how to draw, and most important, not to hurry. Signor Bartoli, a masterpiece takes a while at least." Reluctantly, Signor Bartoli withdrew. A month passed. "How is it coming along?" Signor Bartoli asked. "It's coming along nicely," said Monsieur l'Abbé again from behind the curtain. Along with his words came the strange sounds of swooshing, clanking, and slapping. "You know, you are fortunate that I am painting your portrait. Only buon fresco will do 4 coats of lime plaster. It's the best plaster process I ever saw. Signor Bartoli, it will last forever, but it's a time-consuming endeavor." Sighing deeply, the patron withdrew again. Just how long would this take? Another 3-4 months passed, and finally half a year went by. Signor Bartoli, the patron, marched in demanding to see his portrait. "You must be finished now, and today I will see it," he shouted, shaking with frustration. Stepping from behind the cloth as though surprised by such anger, Monsieur l'Abbé said calmly, "That's fine. You needed only to request it." And he pulled aside the 20-feet curtain. Giuliano Bartoli stood for a minute, and then his mouth fell open. His eyes turned red, and he grabbed what few hair he had left on his head. He did a little hop and then a twitch, and his eyebrows contracted, as though bewitched. Giuliano Bartoli obviously did not like his portrait, not a bit. Giuliano Bartoli was enraged. "How absurd! How disgusting! What does this mean? You will not receive 1 florin, do you hear? You are not an artist, maybe a thief or a madman. Get out of my sight. You leave my house tonight, or I'll have you thrown out." So, what had Monsieur l'Abbé drawn that was wrong? He couldn't see it. He had fussed and fixed for so long. It was 20-foot tall masterpiece. He wasn't sorry that he had drawn to his heart's content, his way, no matter what anybody could say. Perhaps his patron couldn't tolerate his cubist expression, but Pablo Picasso would have been proud of him. If truth be told, Monsieur l'Abbé wasn't crazy, not at all. He'd simply been born 500 years too early. Okay, students. Now I begin with the explanation part of the chapter. By now you know that there are only 2 main characters in the story, Monsieur l'Abbé, the master artist of his era. Era means a certain period of time in history which is special for some reason. And Giuliano Bartoli, the patron. Patron means a person who promotes or supports painters, poets, and other artists for some cause. In the first few paragraphs, you will see that Monsieur Sinilabe was the great artist of his time. He worked under the rules and regulations of the guild for 45 years. He was a famous painter of his town and everybody knew him. In the year 1392, in the month of May, he was about to retire when Giuliano Bartoli, a rich Italian person, requested Sinilabe to prepare his portrait on a 20 feet tall wall of his dining room. Giuliano was very powerful. He was a wealthy man. He was very boastful also, and he wanted to show off. Contemplating his request, the painter did not agree to prepare his portrait because he wanted to enjoy his retired life. But later he changed his opinion and agreed, and you will see that he put his own conditions, and the conditions were that no one will disturb him while he'll prepare the portrait, not even Giuliano Bartoli. Then you will see that the second condition was that he did not need to pose for him, and the last one was that he should be allowed to paint the portrait in his own style, because he did not want to follow the Byzantine and Proto-Renaissance time style which were prevailing in that era. Then in the next paragraphs you will see that Sinilabe was quite happy to gaze the 20 feet wall. His eyes shone brightly because now he can give wings to his imaginations. He can paint in his own style, can use the pigments in his own way. No one will stop him because he will prepare the portrait after his retirement. Therefore, he was no more a part of the guild, and he will not have to follow the Byzantine and Proto-Renaissance styles, as I have already told you. Then after this you will find that gradually 6 months had passed, but the portrait was not ready. Whenever Giuliano asked about it, he got the answer from behind the curtain that he was using the best of techniques and assured him that it was coming quite well. After all, the painter was creating a masterpiece, as it is mentioned in the chapter that he was not preparing a simple portrait, he was creating a masterpiece. Then you will see in para 13 that Giuliano got angry and demanded to see his portrait. So that day Sinilabe pulled the curtain aside. And you know what happened? What was there in front of Giuliano? Oh my God, you cannot imagine. His painting, his portrait, whatever you can say. The poor fellow, he was shocked. He was angry. He jumped, caught his hair. His eyes turned red. His eyebrows twisted. He was extremely disappointed to see his painting, and he shouted on the painter and called him a thief and a madman. He told him that he will not pay him even a single penny for the kind of silly painting he had prepared. Actually, children, what Sinilabe had prepared? He had created a new kind of painting at that time using various straight lines. This kind was not liked or appreciated by the people of that time. The painter, you'll see, was happy on the other hand for what he had created. He was not having any kind of guilty feeling. Later in history, you will find a great painter named Pablo Picasso who used this technique and became famous all over the world. This technique is known as Cubism. And at the end of the story, I'll show you some famous paintings created in Cubism art form. So we can say that the poor artist had simply been born 500 years too early. Means he should have taken birth at the era of Pablo Picasso. Okay. Hope you have liked and understood the chapter. Your homework is to read it twice and learn the meanings of all the words which appear while I read the chapter for you. You can also try your hand and prepare a painting in a cubist art form. Thank you, students. Now I'll again come with another chapter.